Someone asked, how do you take the temperature of a group during the session? We had the earlier question, how do you do the temperature of the group needs assessment before? So here are just some quick facilitation tips that I use. And there's many more, but let me give you these 5 or 6. I want you to be paying attention. I use the term PAN, pay attention now. By group membership, who's talking, who's not. Watch nonverbals. Watch if nonverbals change by group membership. Notice your own gut, that if someone just got, quote, a little more honest and your gut was like, ooh, or you feel some people go, ooh, then just look around and see, are people moving back, crossed arms, and their apparent privileged identity? So if we're talking about classism and folks, either because of dress and or they've said they've got hierarchical privilege and or wealth privilege, they're the ones that look more like this, or people are shaking their heads. So notice nonverbals. That could lead you to say, I'm noticing there was a shift in energy, or I'm noticing there seemed to be an impact of what someone just said that was so powerful. Why don't we pause, slow down, talk, what's the impact of what you just heard? How are you feeling right now? So you can take the temperature by noticing and then asking. Notice that I acknowledge the power of what was just said. I wouldn't leap in without acknowledging, I really appreciate what was just said. I know I had an impact. I saw what I could be wrong, but it seemed that other folks really were taking you in. I'd love to hear some of that. So that's a temperature taken, because I've been in sessions where somebody, you know, the group is kind of up here and then somebody whoop goes way down here. And that had a real impact because folks are relating in, but we hadn't necessarily created the honesty container yet. So we just kind of slow down and hear other folks, but usually people are like, I relate, that happened to me. And then after about 4 or 5 of those, I take the temperature by saying, so I'm really appreciating, I noticed those 4 or 5 folks of color, powerful stories relating in. I want to now ask, what was the impact of hearing these 4 or 5 stories, particularly from whites and other folk of color? So that's another temperature impact. I'm just checking to see where the privileged group is, because they might have scared themselves into silence, but the impact of their silence becomes voyeurism very early. It's not their intent, but that it becomes it. So sometimes I just ask, I'm curious how folks are doing. We're about halfway through. Your needs getting met? Anything else you need? So I'll just ask. I spend a lot of time in my gut and my full body. And so I'm paying attention. I can feel the energy change, not every time, but you know, the amount, who's talking, the volume, the tone, the pace. So I kind of notice that, and then I'll notice it to the group. My guess is y'all notice that our group dynamics changed lately. What did you notice? So I'll ask them, and they might notice things I missed and say, so I'm curious what's going on. And that might open it up so people will talk about what's going on. Now, you don't have to verbally ask. You can use all your panning data collection to help you decide what you want to do next. But you can tell, I tend to like to get them involved because I'm trying to have them learn, experience, practice skills they can take back in the work environment. And I think taking the temperature of the team is a key skill leaders and participants need. Let me do a few more, and we just got a question. I think we can fit it all in. Somebody taught me this the other day. They actually did a thumbs up, which meant doing great. So you say, how y'all doing? Thumbs up meant doing great. To the side meant, eh. And down meant, eh. Being aware that thumbs up and out and down could mean different things in different cultures. So know your audience. But if you're in a culture and a climate that meaning would not be a trigger or not have another meaning, that's one way to do a quick temper check. And you're just looking around, but not everybody's panning. Or you can say, everybody else, look around. Let's see where we all are. You can also do a kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put up your fingers or say the words. How are you doing? You know, 0 is not doing very well. Well, I like to do on a breaks because I always forget to take breaks. So 5 means we're breaking. 0 means now we can keep going. So on the count of 3, give me a number. And if there's 1, 0 or 1 or a 2, I will take a break. But if everybody's a 4 or 5, I'll keep going. All right. if you do any of those kind of energy checks and you ask, so how y'all doing? What's behind your number? Please don't stop at the first two people, but in fact, ask, okay, we've had a couple people say things are going well. Anybody have anything else you want to say? Anything else you want me thinking about? Ask 2 or 3 times so that groupthink doesn't happen. You can also do a 0 to 5 about level understanding and say, I know we've done a lot of activities. How's my pace? You're not asking if they understand, but how's my pace? Would you like me to keep going the way I'm going? Would you like more time for small group, large group conversation? 5 means keep doing what you're doing. 1, 2, 3 means, we'd like a little more time in small groups. Okay. 1, 2, 3, give me a number. That could work. I love 3x5 cards, or you can take, copy paper, rip them into quarters, halves, have them at the tables, have them in chairs in between. Again, you can always drop them off. You can also say, I want everybody, we're about to go to break. I want everybody to write me something. How's this going for you? What's a dilemma? What's a question? What else do you want to make sure we try to cover in the last hour we have? So by saying everybody has to do it, you might get half the room, but that'll be a nice cover for people that want to do it, but are afraid they'll be the only one. You can say you have a concern, a suggestion. I always, before and after breaks, I'll say, how you doing? So I'm actually asking. And then at breaks, I am seeking out the quote onlys. And I don't know all the onlys, but if somebody either has been on the periphery and or by group a membership, there are parent identities, they seem to be the only in the room, I'll just wander by and just say, hey, how you doing? Or if there's just a few of X. The less engaged areas of the room, I'll go over to as well and just check in with them, a table that hasn't verbally participated. And then I'll also check out people that have been saying things that have felt higher risk or more authentic. I'll just come over and thank them. And then they might tell me something else that's been happening. I just say, well, how's this going? How's this playing at the table? By the way, people at breaks will come up and they'll go, oh, this is going great. I'm like, really? How's it playing out there? And then is there anything I need to know? So the folks that will tell me it's going well might be a conduit to let me know other things that are going on. And the last one is I wander. Every time they're in a dyad, a small group, they're doing an experiential activity, I'm wandering, I'm sponging, which means I'm listening. I'm available for questions. People can call me over. If I overhear something, sometimes I kind of lean in and offer an idea if they're kind of off track. So those are all the different ways. And the final one maybe is you check in with yourself and just literally every time they're doing an activity, whether it's writing or reflecting or talking, that you check in with your body, 0 to 10. How triggered are you? How much of a hot button? Because if you're having some hot buttons, the group probably is as well. And so you can come back and say, I'm noticing a shift in my energy. This is what's going on for me. Anybody else? So you can temperature check by sharing about yourself. You can also ask people to write, how are you doing right now? That'll give you a moment to get more centered. Have them fold it up, trade it, and read some into the room as a way to do a temperature check. A couple more quick ones. If the energy in the group seems low, you could just do an icebreaker to shift the energy. You could also ask them, I'm noticing energy is low. Are you all reflecting? Would you like an activity? By the end of the afternoon, they're like, no, in my workshops. We're doing just fine. But you can ask, and it really shows, it models leadership, how to always be checking in. And then finally, towards the end of the session, that's my fourth finally, have you noticed? I found more notes. That I like to move people a lot, but I'm checking in, temperature check. And so I'll let them decide. I'm like, I have one more activity. I would want you to move and find more people, but I wanted to check. How many folks are like, yep, glad to move. How many folks are like, no? And I'll kind of do a vote. And if it's, by then it's usually like, no, leave us alone. So I'll make a joke about it. Then I'll say, how about if you want a new group, you can go ahead and move around. And if you're like, I'm not moving again, maybe somebody will pop over. If not, somebody you've talked to already.